So the mission I chose is Pioneer 10, The Exploration Beyond by Yulisa Romano. So mission introduction. Who? General synopsis. Who, what, when, where. So, who? Pioneer 10. What? American space prop. So what a space prop is, it's a device that they send to outer space that obtains information and sends it back to Earth. So when? March 2nd, 1972, where? Camp Carnival, Florida, Launch Complex 36A. So Pioneer 10 completed many firsts during its journey, but its primary goal was to surviving Jupiter's intense radiation while capturing images of its atmosphere and moons, essentially a Jupiter flyby. So here I attach images here on the lower screen. So over here on the left, this is a picture captured by Pioneer 10 of Jupiter and two of its largest moons, Europa on the left, and Ganymede on the right. Over here, I also attached a picture from Pioneer 10. This one is large. It's mostly distorted by the effects of radiation, but it's also a picture of Jupiter. So answering the how. So imaging photopolarimeter is the how. So for the first time, scientists used an imaging photopolarimeter to capture vibrant colors of Jupiter. It did this by scanning and collecting individual lines of blue and red data. It later digitalized these images to be sent back to Earth through radio waves. So the significance of this instrument is that the instrument provided a never-before-seen angles of the planet at a higher resolution, providing an appearance which at the time was unknown about Jupiter. So the images gave vibrant life to Jupiter that were once only large circles through the eyes of telescopes. So on the next slide here, I have two pictures of the imaging photopolarimeter. So over here I have a drawing or a diagram of the photopolarimeter, and you can see that it uses a spin scan maneuver to, this is how it captured the various angles of the planet. Over here is an actual photopolarimeter, and then over here is those blue and red pictures that I was taking. So what it does, it scans a small section of the planet, essentially creating small pictures that are then piled on, creating a bigger picture and sending it back to Earth. Yet again, this gave a lot of appearance to Jupiter per se. So Pioneer's 10 primary mission was to explore the atmosphere of Jupiter along with its asteroids. But during that run, it also completed many firsts. In fact, no other spacecraft has accomplished as many firsts to this day as Pioneer 10. And largely because Pioneer 10 was the first NASA mission to search beyond, to look for beyond. So that's why it accomplished so many of its firsts. So here we have a list. So it was the first spacecraft placed on a trajectory to escape the solar system, the first spacecraft to fly beyond Mars' orbit, first to travel through the solar system's asteroid belt, first spacecraft to take closer pictures of Jupiter, first spacecraft to fly past Jupiter, and first human-made object to go beyond Neptune. So as you can see, its main goal was to look at Jupiter, the air, and go beyond the solar system to find out more information. So here I have a timeline that I got directly from the NASA website outlining important accomplishments by Pioneer 10. So March 2nd, 1972, launch date. July 15, 1972, spacecraft entered the asteroid belt. December 4th, 1973, Pioneer 10's closest approach to Jupiter. February 19th, Pioneer crossed Saturn's orbit. June 13, 1983, Pioneer 10 crossed the orbit of Neptune. March 31, 1997, routine contact with spacecraft terminated. January 23, 2003, Pioneer 10's last signal is received on Earth. So Jupiter. So once again, one of the Pioneer 10's main goal was to go check out Jupiter, essentially. So on December 4th, 1973, Pioneer 10 made it its closest encounter with Jupiter. This was humankind's first approach to Jupiter, and the craft obtained measurements of Jupiter's magnetosphere, radiation belt, magnetic field, atmosphere, and its interior as well. The understanding radiations proved futile for future spacecraft such as the Voyager and Galileo. So the Voyager was a spacecraft that was sent out to receive more information on Jupiter and Saturn. And the Galileo was a spacecraft helped investigate Jupiter and its moon. So getting more information on Jupiter essentially. By the end of its counter on January 2nd, 1974, Pioneer 10 returned about 500 images of Jupiter and its satellites. So it got a bunch of information on Jupiter. So over here on the left, I have a picture taken by Pioneer 10 on December 1st of Jupiter. And then over here, I have another picture on the left, on the right, I mean, sorry, of Jupiter once again, taken on December 4th, 1973. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes over here. And so what this is, it's Jupiter as it's increasing in size. It looks like it appears that it's crescent, and it's almost completes a gas giant, like it's progressing to complete a gas giant. So the Great Beyond. On June 13, 1983, the spacecraft crossed the orbit of Neptune, the outermost planet. It made its goal of completing its trajectory outside the solar system an accomplishment, as it made Pioneer 10 the first human-made object to go beyond Neptune. Although out of reach, the spacecraft proved to be valuable. It provided information about energetic particles from the Sun and cosmic rays entering our portion of the Milky Way. So now it's not looking at Jupiter, now it's looking at just space. Okay, so a message from the Great Beyond. Due to the Pioneer 10's potential to be the first human-made spacecraft to escape the solar system, scientists fitted the spacecraft with gold plates outlining its origin. So the plate illustrates a new drawing of a male and a female, and the male is giving off a friendly gesture. The location of the Earth and the Sun along the Milky Way, silhouette of the space, which is this shape right here, planets of the solar system in binary relative distances, which is over here, and the position of the Sun. So what we're going to focus on mainly, though, which scientists who made this plate focus on mainly, is the hydrogen, as they chose this element because as it's the most abundant element that we know of. So it's going to be up here on top of the plate, the hyperfine transition of neutral hydrogen. So what that means, hyperfine transition. So it's two hydrogen atoms and changing or transitioning from different elemental states. This then releases an electromagnetic radiation, which therefore gives the standard measurement for the information on the plate. So what this is the wavelength and period from the electromagnetic radiation gives spatial measurements of distance and time respectively. So wavelength gives information about the distance, and then the period gives information about time. So for example, over here we have a binary equivalent of decimal 8 right here by the woman. So using the hyperfine transition, the hydrogen, you get to determine her height, which can be calculated as 5.5 feet tall. On the rest of this plate, you can also use the hyperfine transition as a key to determine the distance and time and all that. So where are they now? So the spacecraft completed all of its objectives, finishing its mission on March 31st, 1997. While the mission had ended, NASA continued to keep track of Pioneer's signal, although the signal was weakening. On April 27, 2002, Pioneer 10 sent out its last signal, 7.6 billion miles from Earth. So NASA cannot connect to the Pioneer 10 no longer. So as far as we know, Pioneer 10 is still venturing out there in solar space, then the solar system, reaching farther distance than the Voyager 1. It is estimated to be 17.7 billion kilometers from Earth. So another thing that Pioneer 10 could potentially and essentially accomplish, another first that it could potentially complete, is communication between a human-made machine and extraterrestrial civilization. So that is it for Pioneer 10, and Hopefully in the future we could receive more information with some contact with extraterrestrial civilization. And here are my citations. Thank you.